Oh, good morning, Pastor Pen.
Good morning po, sir.
Okay. Good morning, RJ. Okay, let's just wait for others to come.
Good, sir.
Good morning, Ma'am Nila.
Good morning, sir. Morning, class.
Good morning.
Morning. Oh, good morning, Meg.
Sir, parang na yung audio niya.
Nawala ba audio ko?
Good morning.
Then you're using another account, ha? Next time, dapat yung Bethany account. Okay, let's just wait for others to come. We'll have 4 presentations today, starting with Module 15. We will end today the midterm modules until 18. Next week we'll have modules 19 and special topic. Plus the two special topic of Jerem. Ayan. Welcome Jeremy. But that will be for next week. And of course, the following weeks we will have 2-week break, diba? We will have 2-week break after week number 11. Week number 12, April 9 is Araw ng Kagitingan, and then the following week is Black Saturday. So, yan, that's why we have multiple instead of the original schedule of just having 2 presentations. Now we have 3 or 4 presentations to augment these holidays. No? So, yan, hindi na factor in yan. Okay, welcome D. How are you? So our first presenter is Gillian, no? Module 15. So let's wait for her. So it's the transfer of learning is also important. By the way, we're now on a cognitive process. Cognitive process starts from the constructivism. Constructivism, it's very important, the idea that the learner have this construction on their mind based on the schema. The schema Sige nga, Pastor Pen, kung magsalita ka. So far, nakamute ka, Pastor Pen.
Sir, we cannot hear you po. I think your audio not working, sir.
You cannot hear me, guys? Ako ba ang may problema ng audio ko? Okay, wait lang ah. Okay, Gillian is here. Welcome, Gillian.
Wala pa rin po.
Walang audio? Sa akin, wala? Wala akong audio? Wala akong audio?
Wala po, wala.
Wala? Anong nangyari sa akin? Sige, I will leave. Wala akong audio.
Wala pa rin, sir.
Sound check 1. Sound check 1. Check sound. Okay, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Opo. Welcome back, sir.
So, browser issue. Hanggang ngayon, di pa rin ako makapag-share. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to our week number 10. So, it means that we have 2 weeks from now, we'll have our midterm examination. Same format, you will be expecting another 700 points for midterm. And I will be uploading also your review material. These are take-home questions. Though the questions are generic, I will only extract from this generic take-home activity or exam, or part of your offline activity, those applicable to modules 7 to 18. Mamila, you have may audio mo, Mamila.
Hi, sir.
Are you moving, ma'am? Nasa, ano po? Ayan. Thank you.
Sorry, sir.
Okay lang po. So to be expected, I'll be uploading this review material. This is part 2 of the Lorimar, no? I have shared to you part 1, the volume 1. This time volume 2 naman. Okay? So may deadline 'yan. So upon upload, you just count 5 to 6 days. Same as true with the midterm exam. Upon upload, 5 to 6 days. So please take note of the deadline, guys. Even though, yes, we are busy. All of us are busy. Who is not busy here? Okay, everyone is busy. So, please, no, because yun, may changes dun sa grades nyo because some are really not able to take the examination on time, no? So okay, sige, pakisabi kay Sheng, noted. Ayan, on the spot permission. Okay lang. Noted. So yan, so please, if you're given that period of time, I hope you could accomplish, no? That's the intention of a deadline, is for you to prepare and to submit ahead of time, not to overdue your examination. Okay? Because in reality, if you will overdue your board exam, what will be the result? For instance, today is the board exam, then you take the board exam tomorrow. What? Di ba? Isel, anong score mo? Kunyari ngayon yung exam, bukas ka nag-take.
Sir, hindi ko po talita po.
Zero ang ano mo. Hindi ka napapatake ng PRC, no? Kasi nga ngayon ang exam, tapos bukas ka pa mag-e-exam, zero yun. Di ba, guys? Tama? So, kaya yun ang point ng deadline. Hindi siya para to get away with the deadline, no? But of course, yan, previously, you know what happened to our prelim. Now, some of you, of course, we're busy, no? Hindi ko maintindihan. Tinatanong ko nga kasi Gillian, mas may busy pa kaya sa atin dito, bukod sa akin. Yun nga yung tinatanong kay Gillian, who will be our first presenter, no? So, yun. At least, of course, binuksan ko na nga siya kahit hating gabi may nag-i-exam sa inyo. So guys, yun. Wag nyo kasi talagang mapipilitan ako. Though yung tentative pa ako, you will receive deduction. No? If you have taken the exam overdue, definitely you will have deduction. But I'm still figuring out what percent, because I mentioned 5%, but I realize 5% is too much per day, per day of overdue. No? Kaya please, wag niyong idahilan na busy lang kayo kaya overdue, guys. Kasi kung tutusin, ayan, pare-pareho tayong busy. No, pwede kong ilatag sa inyo yung daily activities ko. Tingnan natin kung sino mas busy. Kung busy ako, guys, wala na lang exam. Ayoko nang gumawa ng exam kasi busy ako. No, parang invalid, no? That's an invalid assertion. On your part as a student, dapat ganun din. Dapat ganun din yung mindset, no? Now, I hope we're very clear here. when you specify the due date, please submit on that time, on or before. Okay ba guys? Regardless of your business, no? Regardless of your business, kahit nasa bundok ka pa eh. Eh kung may signal naman doon, why not take the test? Make sense ba? Can I ask reactions from the crowd? Jerem, May, Ben,
Yes, sir. Opo.
Meg,
Yes po, sir.
Sir.
D, Hazel, Ma'am Nila, Ma'am Hazel, and Oset.
Yes po, sir.
Dapat maging ano tayo doon kasi baka yung discarding yan, hindi uubra sa board exam yan, hoy. Kunyari, ngayon ang exam, bukas ka magte-take. Sasabihin mo, busy ka sa gawain. Anong klase yun? Sabi ko nga sa inyo last time, I emphasize, this is a ministry of Bethany. No? Ministry itong ginagawa natin. Hindi lang ito ba sa academic duty, but this is a ministry. No? So that what makes it different. So talagang decision yan, whether, yeah, it's a decision. It's a call on you, no, to be diligent. No? Part of diligence is time-bound students, no? No? Paano ka magiging diligent kung late yun? Maganda nga exposition mo, late ka naman. O kaya absent ka. So, hindi rin maganda yon. So, diligence would connote time management. No? Or being on time. No? So, I hope, though I know you know this already, most of you are ministers of the Lord. So, but sometimes as your professor, as the course specialist, I need to remind everyone. Okay? So, yun lang naman. So, wala nang problema kung upon submission, di okay na yung 40% nyo. By this time, you already approximated your grade. No? Don't worry on the 60%. So, hindi mahirap magkaroon ng perfect score dun. Actually, I'm still reviewing your presentations. Some of you. Though those who doesn't have presentation yet, matutuon doon sa reflective summary yung inyong but of course it will be equally accommodated until such time all of you have been presented already, and I will put that into consideration plus your reflective summary and of course the examination and of course participation, kaya from time to time I need to review our session. Okay? Sige, alright, so okay, I ask Brother Osep to open us in a word of prayer.
Okay, let's pray. Close your eyes, bow your head. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this morning that we can having a class, and we praise and we thank God, oh God, because we are still alive in spite of there is uncertainty in this world, but your grace bestowed upon us. Forgive our sins and all unrighteousness. Please our professor, our teacher, Sir Eduardo Marin, and we are thankful to him for his passionate teaching and always vigilant and always looking at us and even the topic and all the report, and we are thankful for his wisdom ideas regarding about this educational to teaching us, and so that we can learn in ourselves and we can expand and we can apply what we learn this subject about this EDU115, and this the my classmate, oh Lord, and the reporter about the topic, and we are thankful, oh God. In Christ Jesus' name we pray, amen and amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Okay, may we call now Gillian, our first presenter.
Okay, wait lang po.
Okay, take it away. Okay, Gillian, yung ano mo hindi ka pa nagchat-chat doon sa mga libro yung gusto nyo
Ay,
Si Ira pa lang naka-receive ng ng books niya. Ayan, nandiyan na ba si Ira? Ayan. Sige, go ahead, Gillian.
Kita na po.
Yes, we could see your slide,
Okay po.
your screen.
Good morning po ulit sa lahat. For today po, we will look into Module 15 or the transfer of learning. So, in this topic, we will look into how transfer of learning occurs, what are the factors that affects transfer of learning, and we will also see some principles that can help us on how we can plan and design our teaching and learning process in our classroom po. So, we will not have any small games or activities because this topic is madami po siyang kailangang tignan or i-understand, and we only have limited time since there are 4 reporters po for today. So, I'll just leave you a question. As a teacher or a future teacher, what do you think is, or when can you say that you are teaching successfully? What is most satisfying thing to see as a teacher? So, yun po. So, I hope you will have that on your mind as we go along po dito sa ating topic for today. So, what is the success of teaching, or what is the most satisfying thing a teacher can see in her or his classroom? So, we know that in defining or describing education, and especially the learning process, we are more on right now in 21st century, we are more on application rather than the all the book knowledge, all the concepts and principles. Hindi na po tayo memorization. Hindi na po tayo by the book ang ating activities, but we promote application of what we discuss. It's not more on us, it's more on the learners. That's why our course or this subject is called Facilitating Learner-Centered Teaching. We are more learner-centered. So, let us look for some definitions of transfer of learning based on some psychologists. So, number 1, transfer of learning is the carryover of habits, of thinking, feelings, or working of knowledge or skills from one learning areas to another, and it is usually referred to as transfer of learning. If you can see, I highlighted the word carryover. So I hope these keywords will help you remember what transfer of learning is. So, second, transfer refers to the transfer of knowledge, training, and habits acquired in one situation to another situation. Acquired in one situation to another situation. Next, transfer is a form of generalization. Later on, we will see what theories we can apply in transfer of learning. So for Jude, it says here, it is a form of generalization. And number 4, transfer may be defined as the process of extending and applying behavior. Process of extending and applying behavior. So, in simple terms, transfer of learning is learning of one context and how it affects the performance in another context. So it is an application of what has been learned. So basically, transfer of learning is actually the significant concept in education. It is the very significant concept of education because we describe education as the application of what they learn. So for us and for teachers to answer our question earlier, our aim as teachers and the aim of education is to achieve transfer. It is the most satisfying thing for us, or it is the success of the teacher if he or she can see her or his students that they actually applied what they learned. So that is the aim of education. So that is why today, if on our days, yung tayo pa yung nasa lower level or nasa elementary grade, we don't have the education we have right now. What I'm saying is, today we have outcome-based education or OBE. But before, the curriculum was very different. It's more on the teacher, it's more on pen and paper, it's more on memorization. Diba po? Ganun po yung ginagawa natin nung tayo pa yung nasa elementary grade. But right now, we promote outcome-based. We give them yung sinasabi nating performance task, authentic assessment. I hope you have heard that from other subjects. So ganun na po yung ginagamit natin or ginagawa natin para makita if there is a transfer of learning. Diba po? We are more on the higher order thinking skills. Hindi na po tayo dun sa memorization lang. So, in transfer of learning, we can also see that if we set goals, some are not achieved. Di ba po? Before, walang course objective, I believe. Ewan ko po Pero as I observe, when reading books nung elementary grade, there are no course objectives that is set on the first part of the lesson. Walang, what's that, outcome, anong tawag doon? Yung expected outcome, wala pong ganun, no?
Oo.
So,
Si Mrs. Bostre, walang sinabing ganyan si Mrs. Bostre.
Opo. So, hindi tayo binibigyan, in short, walang direksyon yung lesson minsan. And I know you ask yourself when you were at that age, anong purpose ng pinag-aaralan ko? Ba't ko ba ito pinag-aaralan? Di ba po? So, that is what is lacking before. But now, we focus on goals and on how students can apply their learning to achieve that goal na sinet po na for the subject. So, sabi po dito, not all goals are achieved until learning is applied. So, syempre, how do you assess students if you cannot see any result wherein they can apply what they have learned or what you have teach? So that is why application is very important in the teaching and learning process, especially on assessment. Kasi doon po natin talaga makikita kung meron silang natutunan or wala. So example, pag pen and paper yung exam, multiple choice, identification, matching type, we can know that they learn somehow if they have the correct answers. But ang mas target po kasi ng ganong exam or test is memorization. Di ba po? Minsan yung mga bata, kumukuha lang ng keyword, tas parang ginagawang analogy. So madali na nilang ma-answeran yung matching type or yung multiple choice. multiple choice, pwede namang shotgun lang. So, we cannot really assess if they have learned what we have taught them. Di ba po? So, yun. Yun yung, hindi naman, yun yung disadvantage ng pen and paper. So, yeah. So now, as teachers, how can we facilitate the transfer of learning, or how we can assure that we have really taught our students, and how we can assure that they have learned something from what we teach them, di ba po? So, first, we will look into some related theories in transfer of learning. So, number one is the mental discipline. So, mental discipline is learning the basic in one field to another, or disciplining the mind. So, paano po siya nangyayari? Di ba po ang bata, kapag sinabi natin, uy, ang galing yan sa science, ibig sabihin, magaling din siya sa math. Ganun po. Or sabihin natin, ay, ang galing naman magsulat niyan, siguro magaling din siyang magsalita or yung public speaking. So, we thought of the learners that if they are good in one field, they can also be good in another field. Example, if we assess students that they have logical skills, so we can say that maybe they are good also in math, and they are also good in grammar because they are logically intellectual. So that is why, if you will remember, in time of Plato and Socrates and all these Greek philosophers, they focus more on classics, logic, grammar, science, mathematics. They are just in the basics because they believe that if you know the basics, you can learn the complex or the higher level of education. So as you can see, from that philosophers, yung mga nag-aaral po sa Athens, sa Lyceum, they were the one who created these different theories, philosophies. Yung iba sa math, they have this theorem, like yung Pythagorean, ayan. So, they were the pioneers, or they were the one who created them, di ba po? Sila po yung nag-study. But what they learned are just the basics. So, if you heard of the term 3R, reading, writing, and arithmetic. So, those are the basics. So, yun po yung mental discipline. So, best example po dyan yung ating mga Greek philosophers. So, next naman po is the identical elements. So, in identical elements, in this theory, if there is an identical procedure, concept, attitude, principles, or technique, it is easy to transfer learning. So, example po, if you are good in geometry, like getting the angles, computing the height, ayan po, we can say that you can easily learn how to do carpentry or masonry, di ba po? Kunyari, magaling kang gumamit ng geometry, so you can easily create DIY furnitures. Ayan, kasi alam mo kung saan okay yung angle, yung height, or in physics, alam mo kung gaano kabigat yung pwedeng ipatong dun sa gagawin mong lamesa kasi ganito yung structure. So, yun po. Pag alam mo po yung procedure, pag alam mo yung principle in book knowledge, you can apply it in other situation. Example po. Another example. If you can ride the bike, probably you can ride a motor. Madalas ko po yung naririnig eh. Kapag kunwari may nagpapaturo magmotor, sabihin nila, marunong ka ba mag-bike? Pag marunong ka, madali na sa'yo ang matutong mag-motor. So, yun po. So, next naman po is generalization. Ito para din po siyang identical elements. The theory of generalization is an extension of identical elements. However, in generalization, you have the ability without training or without practice. You only know the principle, but you can already apply it. Doon po kasi sa identical elements, you need to practice pa rin. Example nga po, yung bike and motor. So, possible nga po na madaling magmotor ang marunong magbike. But there are still differences. Di ba po, may mga clutch, ganyan, may mga brake. Pero po, sa generalization, it's almost the same na po. Example, to get a better understanding po. In generalization, if you know how to roller skate, without any hesitation, you can do ice skating. Kasi parehas lang siya eh. Parehas lang siya all throughout the procedure. So, yun po. Almost the same siya. It's just that identical elements includes practice. However, in generalization, you don't need to practice. You just apply what you have learned. Yun po. So, Gestalt theory. Ayan. Nandiyan po ulit si Gestalt. So, this is understanding the fact and perception, not the principles. So, relationship of facts, process, and principles. This is more on transposition. So, understanding knowledge in one situation and applying it to another situation. Actually, ito pong tatlo, identical elements, generalization, Gestalt theory, they are somewhat related. Ayan po. So, lastly, the perception theory. So, this is simple. Linking previous and new knowledge. So, relating acquired knowledge to new ideas. So, these are some of the theories related to transfer of learning. So, now we will go to the different types of transfer of learning. So, number one, we have this positive transfer. And number two, we have this negative transfer. So, in positive transfer, previous learning, simple description lang po inilagay ko so we can remember it agad-agad. So, previous learning helps present learning. Example, if you know how to speak Spanish po, Spanish language. If you know how to speak Spanish, it is easy for you to learn Mexican rather than Japanese. Kasi po, yung Spanish at Mexican, ang dami lang similarities, di ba po? Pero yung Japanese, sobrang layo niya sa Spanish. So, in positive transfer, if you know Spanish, it can help you to learn Mexican language. Another example, if you know how to read Chinese characters or what we call Hanzi, yung Chinese characters, yung madami pong linya, yung word siya ay per word ata siya or syllable, like that. It is easy for you to learn kanji. Kanji is the one of the Japanese characters din po. Why? Kasi actually, the kanji came from Chinese characters. So, if you know Chinese characters or the Hanzi, it will help you to easily learn kanji. So, ganun po yung positive transfer. Sa negative transfer, previous learning hinders present learning. Example, you have this native tongue wherein nagkakabaliktad yung I and E. Yung phonetics po tayo ha. In your native tongue, parang hindi magkaiba eh. Parang magkabaliktad yung letter I and letter E when you pronounce it. Now, kapag nag-aral ka ng English, doon na magkakaroon ng problema. Kasi iba basahin ang I at E sa English from your native tongue. Diba po? Kaya ito yung mga nasasabi natin na, uy, ba't ganun pronunciation mo? Bisaya ka ba? Diba? Ganon. So, yun po. So, yun yung negative transfer. Another thing, driving right-handed vehicles. Right-handed ka po, no, pag nagda-drive kasi galing kang ibang bansa. Yan. So, sa ibang bansa ka lumaki, driving right-handed. Pero hindi po ibig sabihin nun na madali na sa'yo ang mag-drive ng left-handed na vehicles dito sa Pilipinas. So, mahihirapan ka. So, there is a negative transfer. Maaaring parehas yung gagawin mo, but somehow there is still a difference at makaka-affect yun dun sa panibagong learning mo. Okay? So, sana po nakakasunod po tayo, no? Ayun.
Yes po.
Thank you po. So, next, near transfer versus far transfer. So, ito naman pong transfer of learning na ito, they are dependent on the task. Depende sa ginagawa. So, sa near transfer, transfer of knowledge between similar contexts. So, example, tinuruan mo si student to multiply 2-digit numbers. So, ano yung near transfer niya? Bibigyan mo siya ngayon ng 3-digit na numbers. Pero same lang yung gagawin niya. Yun nga lang nadagdagan. So, in near transfer, it is similar but not identical. And in near transfer, more on procedural. Same procedure, pero magkaiba. Yun po. So, we can also call this specific transfer. So, for next one po is far transfer, or we call it general transfer. Yan. Transfer of knowledge between the similar contexts. So, in simple terms, transferring a knowledge alien to another. So, malayo. Ganun po. Example this, magaling ka mag-chess. Marunong ka sa strategies. Halos kabisado mo na yung buong chess. Di ba? Ganun po. But you apply it to investment. Anong relate? Ganun po. Though, sabihin natin, you can apply it pero sobrang layo and there can be problems in applying that strategies. Another example, you know very well scientific method and you apply it to persuasive writing. Di ba po? Malayo po siya but you still try to transfer. So ito po yung mga hindi natin gustong mangyari. Applying the wrong context or applying the knowledge into wrong context. Yan po. Even sa ito sa preaching natin, no? Yung mga preachers po natin sa nabanggit nga po ni Sir, there are sometimes na merong application ng wrong context. Di ba po? So, yan. Far transfer po ang tawag doon. Ayan. Next one po is lateral transfer. So, this next four are just from research. Actually, wala po yan sa module. Pero nung nag-research po kasi ako ng additional information, a lot of times I saw this transfer. And actually, madami pa po. Sobrang daming kinds of transfer. But these are the major types of transfer. So, lateral transfer, learning of one kind helps and facilitate in understanding the other subject on the same level. So, lateral. Yan po. Same level, lateral po. So, example, you teach a child to clean his or her room at home. So, we can see na kapag nakita mo yung batang yun dun sa school and you see yung bata na naglilinis ng classroom, masasabi mo na, ay siguro ganyan din ginagawa niya sa bahay nila. Kasi naglilinis siya dito, ibig sabihin naglilinis din siya ng room niya. May kusa, di ba po? So, yun. So, lateral transfer, same level, paglilinis, ayun po. So, sa vertical transfer naman, learning of the lower level helps in learning at higher level. Ito na po yung tinatawag natin na spiral curriculum. So, vertical level. So, example, sa statistics, tuturuan ka on how to compute mean and the standard deviation. And etong mean and standard deviation, magagamit mo siya in computing for the t-test. Yan po, sa mga familiar po sa statistics, mga nag-thesis, ayan. So, ituturo muna sa'yo yung mean and standard deviation, then, mas madali na sa'yong matutunan yung t-test, yung z-test, ayan. So, ganun po siya. So, sa spiral curriculum po ang application ng vertical transfer. The last two is the bilateral transfer, wherein when the training given to one part of the body is transferred to another part. So, example po nito is right-handed ka at tinuruan mo yung kaliwang kamay na magsulat din sa na kumbaga magiging right-handed and left-handed ka. So in case na mabalian ka sa kanan, kaya mo pa ding sumulat sa kaliwa. So ayun po. Next is unilateral transfer. So when the training imported to one part of the limb of the body proves useful in some future activity. Ayun po yun po pala yun. Yung nabalian yung kanan mo, so dahil alam ng kaliwa, paano magsulat, so magagamit mo siya. Yung bilateral transfer, either or, kahit anong oras, pwede mo siya magamit. So yun po yung kinds of, or different types of transfer of learning. So now, we will look into the factors that affects the transfer of learning or yung conditions and principles of transfer. So number one, similarity between two learning situation. So sabi po dyan, the principle, here po, itong mga naka-green, ayan. Sa mga next slide, naka-green pa din po siya. So this is the principle. So more similarity means greater chances in transfer of learning. So, mas madali nilang ma-apply. Kasi may pagkakahawig. Ay, nakita ko na to, diniscuss to ni teacher. Kaya ko din to gawin kahit wala si teacher. Kasi parehas lang naman sila eh. So, yun po. So, for us teachers, we need to show different situation where the same type of knowledge, skills, concepts, or principles can be applied. So, yan po. So, mas madali natututunan ng students or ng learners if they can see similarities from what they learn and to where they will apply it. So, real-life application activities, yan po yung pwede nating gawin in our discussion. So, ayan po. So, next one po is ayan, degree of meaningfulness or relevance of learning. Ito nga po yung sinasabi ko kanina. Bakit ko ba pinag-aaralan to? Ayoko nang pag-aralan to kasi hindi ko naman alam saan ko gagamitin. Yan po yung mga linya ng mga bata eh. Kasi ganyan din po yung linya ko dati. Ba't ko ba pag-aaralan to? Hindi ko naman magagamit sa buhay ko, di ba? Ganyan. So, that is why it is important for us to present the relevance po nung pinag-aaralan or nung tinuturo natin. So, meaningful learning leads to greater transfer. So, in this part, we can use examples where the topic can be related. So, i-link po natin siya sa mga real-life situation. When we are discussing our topics, our lessons, let us try to give examples that is real life. Naalala ko po tuloy yung example na bumili si John ng 35 na apples. Anong gagawin niyo sa 35 na apples? Diba? So, ayun po. Let us try to make it more realistic and relevance talaga sa may relevance sa ating real life situation. So we can also try to review sessions or recall of prerequisite problems relevant to your course. So pwede din po natin na yung mga napag-aralan before, i-try natin i-link doon sa mga bagong pag-aaralan. Diba po? Katulad po kanina, nakita po natin yung gestalt. So, last time, yung topic ko, lumabas na naman po siya. So, there is a relation from the past topic. Ayan po. Mamaya, meron pa rin pong iba na mababanggit na galing sa past topic. So, let us try to provide opportunities for learners to link new materials to what they learned in the past. So next one po, number 3, sa ating conditions and principle is the length of instructional time. Sabi po dyan, based on the principle, the longer the time spent in instructions, the greater the possibility of transfer. Ayan po. But, ito po, syempre, i-assess pa din po natin who our students are. Mamaya 2 hours yung lecture mo pero grade 2 pa lang yung tinuturuan mo. Diba po? Yung mga ganong lecture pang college na yon, mga 2 hours. Pero we depend the instructional time on the attention span ng bata. Kasi syempre, kahit anong salita po natin, kung hindi na po kaya ng attention span nila or ng utak nila, hindi na din po nila talaga maintindihan. Wag po nating ipilit, di ba? So, length of instructional time. But, the concept here is, the longer the time spent in instruction, the greater possibility. So, sabi po dyan, teaching few topics in depth rather than many topics tackled in a shallow manner. Example, yung isang lesson, baka pwedeng 2 meeting na pag-aralan. Imbes na isa lang, kunyari, netong week lang, next week iba na naman, baka pwedeng next week yun pa din. Para lang ma-review and magkaroon ng in-depth learning yung bata. So, hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na length of instructional time, yung buong isang araw, ilang oras po kayong mag-discuss. Hindi naman po. Pero, it depends on your assessment on your students. Example, you discuss for 30 minutes. Then you try to give them a seat work. And based dun sa seat work, they have low scores. Ibig sabihin, hindi nila masyado naintindihan. So, next meeting, try to discuss it again. Huwag po tayong mag-advance na, hindi ito yung nasa lesson plan ko, kailangan on time ganito. Sometimes, we need to assure din po yung learning ng bata. Though it is important to have lesson plan, syempre, it will help us din po. But we are more on the learning ng bata. Di ba po? Mas importante sana sa atin if we can know or we can assure that our students really learned what we taught of them. Di ba po? So, yun. So, sa length of instructional time, so, on higher grade, you can do over-learning for retention. Ayun nga po, yung mahabang oras ng pag-aaral. And sa lower grade, short but repetitive. Ayun nga po. Pwede naman next meeting. So, next meeting, ulitin mo na lang ulit. So, yun nga po. We are more in depth with the fundamentals. So, yun po siya. Next is variety of learning experience. The principle here is to expose to many and varied examples and opportunities where practice encourages transfer. So dito po, we can do a lot of drills, challenging activities. Ayan po. So we also spend time sa activities and other practice po. So plan activities that allow your learners to practice their newly learned skills. So dito po, actually, meron po ako nabasa na research. I think, inaalala ko lang po is si Butler. Doon po sa ginawa nilang research, they try to have these two students. The other student focus on a single example wherein yun lang po yung pag-aaralan niya ng paulit-ulit. So he tried to study a single example repetitively. Then the other student, practice with more examples. Iba-iba siya and more examples. So on the end of the research, the student that practice with variety and more of example outperformed the student that studied a single example. So mas lamang yung madaming experience or mas madaming examples na pinag-aralan kaysa dun sa student na isa lang yung paulit-ulit niyang pinag-aralan. So mas mataas yung grade ng student na nag-aral ng maraming example. So sabi nga ni Butler at the end of the research, repeatedly retrieving and applying knowledge to different experiences is a powerful method. So yun po. Mas magiging effective ang transfer of learning if there will be variety of application or variety of examples and activities. So next, context for learners' experiences. So principles, what they learned is applicable to various contexts. So as teachers, we can relate a topic in one subject to topics in other subject or discipline. Or sabi nga po natin, we can relate learning to real life situation. Example, ito pong subject natin na to. It is relating psychology to education. Di ba po? Yung ibang terms, more on psychological manner siya eh. So, ina-apply po siya sa education. Example, yung isang pong subject with Sir Marin, relating calculus to geometry. So, yun po. Pwede din naman na sa real life situation, you will have your students write letters. I know, I remember when I was in high school, we are asked to write a letter. Yung as in pong sulat na yung may address, ganyan, yung formal po. Di ba usually po yun sa papel lang, check-checkan ng teacher kung tama. Ang ginawa po sa amin nun, pinagsulat kami para po sa chosen friend or kakilala or family. Tapos dinala po talaga namin sa post office. And ang requirement po ng teacher namin nun, kailangan sumagot yung sinendan mo. So, syempre, kakausapin mo yun. Uy, sagot ka, send ka din, ganyan. So, yun po, in-apply po yung pagtuturo ng writing of letters sa real-life situation na na-experience po mismo namin kung paano magpadala ng sulat sa post office. So, ganun po. So, another example po, yung pinag-aaralan po, the topic we are studying in assessment and learning, the measure of central tendency. Basically, that is from statistics. Yan po ay statistics na topic. Pero, it was related or it was adapted in education to use in assessment and learning. So, yun po, may relation yung dalawang discipline or yung dalawang subject. So as teachers, we can create assignments and learning experiences that involve transfer of practice within and across courses in academic program. So I think this second to the last, focus on principles rather than tasks. So understanding of principle is the key in their appropriate use. Discuss with the students how the principles are applied. Give students chance to identify situations that a principle can be applied. Give examples of various situations. Yun din pala yun. Naulit na. So yun po. Discuss with students how and when they can apply the principles they have learned. So this is more on application of theoretical knowledge. So example of various situations where principles can be applied. So ang pwede po natin gawin dito sa part na to is the question and answer this type of discussion. Kunyari, naturo na po natin yung topic, yung lesson, yung principle. So, ask your students on what situation you can apply what you have learned. So, more on ano po to, hindi po to practical test, but more on question and answer lang po. So, it is good thing that we have this in every end of our lesson po, yung question and answer discussion. So we can know if they really understand the principle of what we have taught them or the lesson that we presented to them. So example po niyan, question and answer discussion. So lastly, is the emphasis of metacognition. So hindi ko na po ulitin kung ano po yung metacognition, but we all that I think that is our one of the first topics din po. So emphasis on metacognition. Student reflection improves the transfer of learning. So yan nga po yung I remember nga po yung kay Sir John Art, we have this learning log ng lahat ng topic at ano yung napag-aralan mo, anong natutunan mo, saan ka nahirapan. So, yun po, no? So, students can take time to assess their own selves, di ba po? So, encourage students to take responsibility for their own learning and to reflect on what they learned. So, with giving this reflection activity, they can really look back. Ano ba talagang natutunan ko? Naalala ko ba yung tinuro sa akin? Diba po? Saan ba ako nahirapan? Ano ba yung kailangan kong tignan ulit para maalala ko siya? Ayan. So, they can actually relearn or review if they have this kind of activity, yung student reflection. So, example nga po niyan is the learning log. So, I hope po we have the understanding of the transfer of learning, and I hope na meron na din kayong naiisip on how you will plan and design your teaching and learning process someday. Especially, kailangan pala ganito or I can do this on my class. So, sana po may mga ganun na ideas kasi when I was doing this presentation, I also have these ideas of where I can apply it. Niisip ko na din po, ko, ganito pala siya gagawin dapat. So, minsan kasi meron tayong na-overlook. Especially, we were from the old curriculum. So, madalas po, ang focus natin is on what we teach. Diba po? More on old school pa tayo, medyo nahihirapan pa tayo mag-adjust on learner-centered teaching. So, here, I actually present to you some of the examples or the principles we need to consider in our teaching and learning process po. So, I hope po, meron po tayong natutunan and we are dismissed. Di po, ako lang po. So, yung lesson na po is dismissed. So, if there are questions and clarifications po, okay lang po. Yeah. Yun lang po. Thank you po.
Ayan, naunahan mo ako mag-dismiss Gillian. Anyway, thank you Gillian for that presentation. The transfer of learning, no? Okay, there are clarifications from you. And before I present this certificate.
Wala naman po, sir.
Tapos, sir.
So yung transfer, no? Siguro as a ministerial application, yung lessons natin, of course, are our objective is to transfer, no? The transfer information. Of course, the information that will bring transformation to our congregation. If you're a preacher, or perhaps if you are in an outreach, those children that you reach, no? So yung transfer of not just the information per se, but that information that will transform them. So I think I could see that application. I can see the principles of this transfer. Kaya nga, as I reflect, yung mga iba't ibang klase ng transfer, no? It could be positive, it could be negative. Ano nga, Gillian, yung iba pang transfer? Type of transfer?
Near transfer po.
Yung near transfer. So,
Far transfer.
Lateral
saka yung
transfer.
far.
Lateral, vertical.
Yeah. So, dapat yan. Kaya yung mga lessons natin, di ba, application sa mga outreaches natin, no? If you're going to outreach, we don't just teach them isolated stories. There must be these stories must be somewhat interrelated, so that the previous concepts, no, may kita natin, may transfer doon. We could always transfer these interconnecting ideas, no, rather than teaching isolated lessons. So I think there could be a better transfer kasi kung may relate nila yung context, no, yung principles interrelated, di ba tama ba yung near transfer, no? I think that's more of a near transfer, no, magkakaparehong context, no? And also yung exposition ng preaching, no? If you are expository in your preaching, yung transfer is better, because the context is there, the flow of thought is there on the text itself, no? Kasi yung text as it presented, you expose it, no? Rather than though some may be good at topical preaching, but of course the one that you will transfer is not the topic, the text itself, no? The truth of the text, because the topic is actually based on the text. Remember that whenever you preach a topical sermon, it's not the topic that you're preaching, still the text, and then the topic come out of the text. Kasi ang nangyayari, kapag may topic ka ng agenda, you have agenda in your mind, a topic, then you will find a text. So nagkakaroon and then yung susunod na uling topic mo, no, hindi ngayon ma-relate, hindi ngayon magkaroon ng transfer, no? Yung smooth transfer of the information, because they're unrelated texts. So it's better, no, as a co-preacher, though I'm not a pastor, but a preacher of God's word. So I would rather preach on a text per text exposition, so that the transfer could be learned by it will impact the teaching learning experience of the congregation. If they could see the transfer, the context is there, the connectivities, no? So and then of course definitely that is God's word, and you have a diligent study, definitely God will bless the preaching, and it will bless those who hear your message, no? The congregation itself will be blessed on that sense, because you are exposing God's word, meaning there's a interconnectivity on the ministry or in your preaching, no? Same as true with Sunday school lesson, no? Make sure that your Sunday school lesson are interconnected, meaning they are hooked into a universal, into the universal redemptive plan. So whether you teach a story in Genesis, no, whether you teach a story in the prophets or perhaps in the gospels, no? So they have their connection as far as the redemptive plan, and don't forget about that, no? Unless, now, if you forgot the redemptive plan or the redemptive connection in every lesson, you miss the point. Now, that becomes an isolated story, and that would have an effect on the transfer of learning as far as your pupils or perhaps your outreach children, no? Kasi hindi mo dapat siya i-present ng isolated. You should plan ahead. There must be interconnections. In fact, the lessons, the modules that we are looking into are somewhat interconnected, no? Just like Gillian mentioning some theories, previous theories, Gestalt, and other theories that may be used, applied to the next discussion. So there must be this transfer of learning, no? So that's how I look at it on the ministerial perspective. So perhaps expository preaching. So if you're not doing exposition, so I would suggest you brothers to consider exposition. I have materials for expository preaching. You just PM is the key. If you're not, no? But of course, if you're doing exposition, praise the Lord. Don't be satisfied with just a topical sermon. Because even though you are preaching a topic, you're not really preaching a topic. You're preaching a text, and you're drawing out a topic from that. Remember that. So it's still a textual exposition. Yun nga lang, pag topical, hindi siya chronology. Halimbawa, you're exposing Gospel of Mark, then all throughout, you preach Gospel of Mark. So, of course, there's flow of thought there. There's transfer of learning, no, for text to text. No, there's anticipation among sige, noted, Pastor Pen. There are yung mga, sino ba yung nag-request sa akin ng Tagalog? Sorry kasi dinak ako ng Facebook in that time. Kaya hindi ko ano. Ikaw ba yun, Otep? Pastor Pen, ikaw pala yun. Nung time na nag-request ka, binak ako ng YouTube, ng Facebook. Sabi ko, ba't di ako makapag-attach ngayon, ha? Teka. So, tingin ko pwede na ako mag-attach. Sige. I'll be, sige, I'll share that material. May Tagalog kasing ABC of Christian Growth, no? So, nung time na yun, talagang, di ba nangyayari ba sa inyo yun, guys, yung hindi kayo makapag-attach for some reason? So, yeah, that's my take on Gillian's presentation. Thank you, Gillian. I think lumalabas yung pagiging math major mo dyan sa sa presentation.
Po sir, puro math yung example.
Oo, kasi puro math yung example mo.
Wala po ako maisip na iba.
Hindi, okay lang yun. No problem. Okay? So, other thoughts before I present this certificate? Okay? So, that's my take on ministry, no? That's my comment. Siguro exposition. You try expository preaching. Textual based, no? Text to text. So you move on from one text to another. If you preach verse 1 to 5, the next time verse 6 to 10, depending on the paragraph division of the text, of course. And not all texts are preachable texts. Remember that, because some text needs to be considered as one context, no? So that that will become a preachable text, no? So yun yung minsan yun, we need to consider that as well. Okay, so again, congratulations, Gillian. I would like to read the citation. Okay, certificate of appreciation is given to Gillian Joyce Pueblo in grateful acknowledgement of her invaluable effort in imparting knowledge and insights. A resource speaker for the EDU115 seminar series on learning, with a special topic on transfer of learning, given this 26th day of March 2022 via Restream, Google Meet, and YouTube live stream. Signed by yours truly. So take this virtually, Gillian. Congratulations.
Thank you po, sir.
All right. So we call now our next presenter. This time will be Meg. Are you ready? We'll be discussing the revised Bloom's taxonomy.
Sir, opo.
Okay, so you could share your screen anytime now. Okay, no problem, Meg. We could wait. By the way, it's only Ira that received her gift. What do you think, Ira? What can you say about those reference? Si Ira pa lang nag-PM sa akin. Ay, sige, pwede naman, sige, I could share. You could PM me your slide, Meg. I'll try to share it. Parang bumalik na yung sharing ko eh. Oh, ako, naging ganyan din 2 weeks ago, di ba? Remember, 1 or 2 weeks akong hindi makapag-share. So ngayon naman, yan, I could share. Kaya lang, sige, let's try. If you want to, you could PM me your slide.
But I need to listen. I love you, Bobby. Hello, Daddy.
Hello, good morning. Are you well?
No.
You still have, fever or colds? Or you go down na? Wala. So, Okay, there are some technical issues with Meg. Is it possible, Pastor Pen, if you will
You're muted,
present
sir.
first? Ah, on mute mo nga pala. No? Okay. Meg is still fixing up some technical issues. Is it possible, Pastor Pen, for you to present first? At least one of your topic. Pastor Pen? Because still, Meg is still fixing some issues.
Sige po, sir. Opo. Ano, sir? Ako na po.
Oh, sige, ikaw muna. Yes,
Okay.
yung hello, my son. Ayan. Pagising na yung akin. Yes, Pastor Pen. Sige, ikaw muna. Yung 17, module 17. And then afterwards, Meg, and then if we have time, 18. Just be ready for 18.
Nakikita po ba yung presentation po?
Yes, very clear, very clear. Okay, so take it away, Pastor Ben. Module 17.
Sige po, thank you po, sir. So, module 17 po tayo. So, I'll be discussing about Eastenberg's successful intelligence theory and WICS model. Nababago po ba yung sa screen po?
You're still on the first slide.
Ay, sorry po, sir.
Okay lang, no problem. Excuse me.
Ang bihira naman ito.
Okay na ba yung slide mo? Parang hindi gumagalaw, Brad.
Ayun nga po, sir. Tiga lang po.
PowerPoint ba yan, Brad?
Opo.
But, siguro naka-extended view ka. Naka-extended view ka, no?
Opo, sir. May gamit akong isa eh.
So, hindi mo nakikita yung kabila. Ayan, okay na. Gumalaw.
Meron po.
Gumalaw. Okay na.
Sige po. Sige po, sorry po sa inconvenient po. Sige, Module 17 po is Sternberg Successful Intelligence Theory and YAC is model. So kasama din po yung ating pong pag-aaral. Ay, yung Module 17 lang po, no, sir?
Sige, diretsuin mo na. Okay lang.
Sige po.
Ano ba?
Tapos,
Will that take time o okay lang?
Opo, hindi naman po siguro, pero yung example lang po yung mahaba. Kasi yung example din po dito sa kopya po, sir.
Sige. Tingnan natin. Sige. Just continue.
Sige po. So si Robert J. Sternberg is a cognitive psychologist who is currently the provost and professor of psychology at the Oklahoma State University. So he came up with the triarchic theory of intelligence in 1980s. Yung nangyari po kasi po dito, yung history po, yung theory po ito ay nagawa po niya based on his experience because during his time, nahihirapan po siya sa intelligence test. He did not perform well on such tests. This might have fueled his interest in the field that led him to come up with the triarchic theory of intelligence in the 1980s. So yung triarchic theory, yun po yung ating pong pag-aaralan mamaya, kasama po yung analytical skills, practical skills, tapos yung creative skills. So ito po yun, successful intelligence theory. So number 1, memory skills, recalls facts and pieces of information and retain the knowledge we acquire. Yung analytical skills helps determine if a certain idea is good. And creative skills allow a person to come up with a new idea, usually to answer a need or solve a problem. Yung practical skills, presentations are communication tools used for different purposes. So according to Sternberg believed that traditional views of intelligence focus heavily on memory and analytical skills. This traditional view led to teaching strategies that focus mainly on memory and analytical skills as well. It naturally followed that assessment of learning likewise concentrated heavily on these two skills. Memory and analytical skills are very much necessary. Kay Sternberg po yung memory and analytical ay kinakailangan. So being able to recall information or knowledge is needed to begin thinking creativity. Tama nga po yun. Kinakailangan po, no, we have information or knowledge para makabuo po tayo ng creativity. So one cannot apply knowledge which he cannot remember. Analysis is important before one can think of new and better ideas. At sabi pa ni Stenberg, also emphasize creative and practical intelligence. Creativity is what moves people forward. So creativity gives birth to new and better solutions to problems. Without creativity, we will get trapped in things in ways that don't work anymore. So practical intelligence, on the other hand, makes us apply what we have learned. It gets us to actually do what needs to be done. So creative and practical skills is what leads to successful intelligence according to Stenberg's. It is a vital that we remember what we learn, memory, use critical thinking to evaluate the things we learn, analytical, and be innovative in finding better ways of doing things in solving problems. Yun yung creative and apply and put to action what we learn. So sabi ni Robert Stenberg, successful intelligence is the ability to succeed in life given one's own goals within one's environmental context. So yun po yung sabi po ni Robert Stenberg. Yung pagkaunawa ko po kasi dito, no, hindi yung flexibility na may natututunan ka sa environment at meron ka din na meron ka ding na yung tawag doon na-share sa environment. Sir, i-kuhan ko lang po yung next po na presentation po. So meron po bang katanungan po dito?
That's module 17. No? Okay, I have clarification guys for module 17. So that's the framework. Can you slide yung framework, yung apat?
Yes, sir. Opo.
Para may point of discussion. If there are things to ask. What is WICS stands for? Diba, Wix model, no? What's WICS all about?
Sir, wisdom, intelligence, creativity, tapos yung synthesis po, sir.
Okay. Nandun yung sa ano, no, yung model, yung apat kanina.
Opo. Meron po yung sir, opo.
Paki-flash nga dyan sa ano, sa slides.
Opo. Meron po kasing karagdagan to, sir.
Meron pa. Sige.
Oh,
go ahead. Still part of 17.
Opo.
Sige. Please continue. Ayan, yung pala tinatanong ko.
Opo.
Okay, go ahead. I thought it's already the end of the slide. Okay, continue.
Nakikita po ba?
Yes po.
Yes, pero yan ba yung buong slide? Parang medyo putol siya. Medyo iangat mo ng konti.
Malala.
Yan. Yan, I think that's better.
So itutuloy ko po, sir.
Yes, continue.
Intelligence is viewed as a set of fluid abilities to learn from experience and to adapt to one's surroundings. So yung the WIC is more recent model of how humans think and reason that can help us understand how students will learn most effectively. So ito po yung YEC stands for wisdom, intelligence, creativity, and synthesis. So analytical intelligence to ascertain whether their creative ideas are good ones. Yun po yung kanina po. Tapos practical intelligence to implement their ideas and to persuade others of the value of their ideas. So wisdom, in order to ensure that the ideas will help achieve some ethically based common good over the long and short terms rather than just what is good for them and their families and friends. So alam naman po natin yung wisdom is applying the knowledge or applying what we learn. So yun po yung wisdom. So Steinberg's presents a model for education that is relevant to the need of times. So yung ginawa po ni Steinberg, no, ay napakahalaga po, no, napapanahon. So they were capable of serious analysis of issues and problems. So Steinberg proposed that while education develop analytical and practical intelligence as well as creativity, wisdom should be an integral part of the whole process. So yung napakahalaga po talaga po doon ay yung wisdom. So whatever topic you will be teaching, it is important to integrate questions, tasks, or activities that target the development of wisdom. So sa atin bilang mga teachers, napakahalaga po talaga yung we are asking questions, yung tasks pinapagawa sa estudyante or activities that target the development of wisdom of the students. So applying the WICS model. So the uses of the WICS model include admission, instruction, and assessment. One way that you can apply the WICS model and instruction is when you reflect and make choices on the tasks and activities that will give to teach and assess your students. So your choice can be based on the preference and strength of your learners. So yung choice po natin nakabase po kung ano po yung gusto or ano po yung sa abilidad po ng learners or the strengths of the learners. So how to teach analytical, no? So analyze, recognize existence of the problem, define problems, formulating strategy to solve problem, monitor results of strategy, and evaluate results. So example po, analyze the development of the character of Ibarra and Noli Tanging. So, this is how to teach analytical. So, critique, example, ito po yung mga example po critique the design and features of the latest smartphone. So judge the artistic merits of Filipino cartoonist Larry Alcala's slice of life. So compare and contrast. Example, compare and contrast the Italian approaches of Montessori and Reggio Emilia in early childhood education. So evaluate the validity, the theory of evaluation, write a term paper on this. So for the sake of time, no, ikuan ko lang po, no, basahin ko lang po example. Assist the strategy of the Manila city government to improve the traffic situation around the city. So how about no yung creative, how do you teach creatively, no? So ito po 'yon. So create, invent, ito po yung word na dapat po nating tandaan in how we teach creatively. Create, invent, discover, imagine, if, suppose that, and predict. So reminder, it is important for you to encourage and sustain your students' creative, active ideas. So ibig sabihin po, no, yung idea po ng bata o student, huwag po nating baliwalain o bigyan po natin ng pansin, no? Minsan po, no, meron po kasing idea yung bata na sometimes teacher ay binabaliwala, but as a teacher, no, we need to consider the ideas of our students. So remember to be an example to them by taking the rest to share your own creative ideas. So napakaganda din po yun, no, that we are sharing our creative ideas to the students or our experience. So how do you teach practically? So apply, use, put into practice, implement, and employ. So render practical what they know. Yun. So napakahalaga po ito, no, sa atin as teachers, render practical what they know, yung practical po na nakikita po nila at maaari po nilang gawin. No, have in mind real life situations where students can use what they learn to meet their own and also others' practical needs. So real life situation where students can use. So, for example, an example from a classroom, apply addition concept and determining number of boys and girls in the classroom. So, use the knowledge of Excel to track of daily household expenses. So, ito po yung halimbawa na kung saan no real situation na alam po ng mga estudyante. And they will, nakaka-relate po sila. And even inside the classroom or even in the environment. So how do you teach wisdom? Paano po natin ituturo yung wisdom? So one of the goals is for learners to learn to see and understand the point of view of others. It is important for your learner to balance one's own need with the needs of other people and also world or the environment. So makikita po natin po dito, no, not only, our own need, but we also care for the needs of other people and also the world or the environment. So you teach wisdom when you are able to move your students to try to find a common good, see things from others' point of view, balance your own interests with those of others and of institutions. Look at the long term as well as the short term. So reflect about how one can base his every decision on positive ethical values and appreciate that in life what is seen as true and effective may vary over time and place. So an example from a classroom. So what might be a solution for the common good in the Philippines, in China, on Spratly Islands? Yan po yung halimbawa. So the WICS model has been used not only for instruction but also for admission and assessment. So based on their studies, the WIC model was successful for teachers and learners because it celebrated the differences of learners through a supportive learning environment and made students remember better what they learn. So ito po yung makikita po natin, no? And build on the strength of the learners and strengthen the motivation of the learners. So yun po, nagagamit po yung WICS model. So yun lang po sir, yung sa kwan po. Yung sa module 17 po.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Pen. So, we have some clarification. Okay, maganda yung yung wisdom, no? It's very important. What differentiate wisdom from intelligence or knowledge?
Sir, yung knowledge po, for example, if we are reading any books or the Bible, no, nagkakaroon po tayo ng kaalaman. But wisdom is applying what you learn.
Okay, so on the application or the
Application, practice po po.
Practice, okay. So, yeah. So, other thoughts? Before we award the certificate, then I will call Meg afterwards. Kaya blanco to. Agad lang guys. It's a good thing I have already gained my sharing capabilities. No? Yan. Okay, other thoughts? So, mahalaga yung no? Because wisdom could be seen in its practicalities, not just knowledge or intelligence, no? But wisdom per se is developed, it's continuous, no? Yung experience, and then this experience will be inputted to your knowledge and skills again, no? As you continue to grow as an individual, no? Both practically and spiritually. Now we could see its reality, yung wisdom. Kaya nga yung wisdom normally ina-attribute sa mga older people, elders. That's why another term for a pastor is an elder, because primarily a pastor should have ministerial experience and wisdom. No, that's why we call them elders or pastors or bishop. No, so all of these are equivalent. No, so it means it resembles wisdom. No, where do you derive the wisdom from? The experiences, those truths that had been applied to your personal life, so you gain wisdom out of that. Okay, so I think for a student, maganda rin yun. And of course, this will also encourage creativity among students, yung creative thinking. Yun na-emphasize din dun sa presentation. Other thoughts before we call Meg and award the certificate to Pastor Pen? Other thoughts?
Wala naman po, sir.
Okay, by the way, yung ating seminar evaluation, I'll be uploading later, no? So hindi ko pa siya na-update. So from time to time, you visit the folder for seminar evaluation and your reflective summary, no? So it is updated weekly. Okay? So anyway, the deadline the deadline of evaluation and though I have not indicate a due date, no, it will be also the deadline of your midterm examination. Sabay-sabay na siya. So, okay. So,
Yes, sir.
so pwede pa kayo makahabol. Those who have not been able to evaluate and to submit their midterm reflective summary could still upload. Just upload your files on the folder that I will be creating. Okay, so I would like to award this certificate of appreciation to Pastor Penero Bacod in grateful acknowledgement of his invaluable effort in imparting knowledge and insight as a resource speaker for the EDU115 seminar series on learning with a special topic on Stenberg's successful intelligence theory and the WICS model. So given this 26th day of March 2022 via stream, Google Meet, and YouTube live stream. Okay, congratulations, Pastor Pen. Okay, you still have one
Thank you
more
po, sir. Thank you po.
after Meg. Okay. Okay, since I have the slides of Meg, no, Meg, are you ready for your presentation? So this is already your. Is it right that you submit only the PDF copy, Meg? Okay, Meg, take it away. Meg, are you there? By the way, next week we'll have the final period already, no? So it's Ma'am Nila that will present module 19 and a special topic from
Yes, sir.
Ma'am May. Alright? And the two special topic of Jerem. Okay, so that's the last chance for Jerem. So he has two special topic next week. Okay? I think Jerem is around a while ago, no? Am I right? So please remind Jerem that he has chance to present two special topic next week. Alright? So kasi he failed on the 11 mag-charge. Change. Sige. Yeah, Meg, go ahead. Yeah. Since he failed on the two topics on the schedule with some valid reasons, that's why we have given chance to Jerem to present special topics by next week together with Ma'am Nila and Ma'am May.
Okay na po.
Okay, let's welcome Meg on her presentation. Module 16.
Good morning, classmate. About Module 16, the revised Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives. First muna po sa introduction, imagine that you are already working as a teacher. How would you feel if you enter your classroom without a specific learning outcomes? Question mark. How would you proceed without clear and specific targets? Being sure about your learning outcomes will help you to make learning effectively with appropriate, clear, and specific learning outcomes. You do not need to guess nor grope in the dark on what to accomplish. This module will present the original and the revised Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives. Although the revised taxonomy came out years ago, it is important to still present both the old and the revised to have a complete understanding and better appreciation of the taxonomies used in education. In advanced organizers, ito po, presenting, there is a 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy, and the revised taxonomy, 2 dimension of the revised taxonomy, the practical guide to the revised taxonomy, and the apps and the revised taxonomy's synapse strengthener. Okay. Benjamin Bloom. Okay. 1913 to 1999, he was the Associate Director of the Board for Examination in the University of Chicago. They needed a way of classifying questions shared by faculty members to form a test bank. For 6 years, from 1949 to 1956, he led a group of experts to come up with a framework to classify adjectives. The revised Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives po yung sa Module 16 yung topic ko po. Also, helps encourage and teach students make their own decisions just in a classroom setting, but also helps promote a life skill. Okay, next po. The old taxonomy. Ay,
Is it the right?
yes po. In 1956, the taxonomy of educational objectives, Education of Educational Goals, Handbook 1, the cognitive domain was published. Okay pa. Ang example po nito, yung sa cognitive domain po, is there is 6 categories po. The knowledge, the comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And then, Bloom and his colleague, Handbook 2, na-publish naman po yung Handbook 2, which is the affective domain in 1964. Which includes yung affective domain, for example, dito is to comply with, to follow, to commend, to volunteer, to spend leisure in time. Time in. Okay. Other experts published a taxonomy for the psychomotor domain in 1966, 1970, and 1972. Ang example naman po yung psychomotor domain po is being able to perform a skill on one's own after taking lessons or reading about it. Yan po. The taxonomy in the cognitive domain contains the level from knowledge to evaluation. To facilitate also sa all taxonomy, to facilitate also learning, we begin teaching with facts, stating memorized rules, principles, or definition knowledge. For 6, which must lead to understanding concepts, rules, and principles, comprehension. The example, ito po, comprehension for number 6. Sa comprehension po, example po dito is the summarizing, comparing and contracting, drawing conclusion, self-questioning. Yun po yung sa comprehension. Next po is the application. Approve of the comprehension of the concepts and principles is using them in real life situation. Yun po, yung application, which is yung mga web browsers, word processors, database programs, communication platforms. For number 7, next is for an in-depth understanding and mastery of these applied concepts, rules, and principles. These are broken down into parts that we call this analysis. Analysis, for example naman po nito is choose your argument, define your thesis, write the body paragraphs, analysis. Next po is the synthesis. A still higher level of thinking is when students put together elements of what has been learned in a new way. Yes po. Example po dito is when you refer to a friend, the things that several other friends have said about a song or movie, you are engaging in synthesis. For just example po, ako may friend po ako tapos kuwento ko po kung ano yung nilalaman ng movie. Inunahan ko na siya kung ano yung kahinatnan ng movie, which is nagkakaroon po ng sentences. Right. Number 8 po. For the evaluation, with a full grasp of what was learned, the students can now assess or judge based on a set of standards on what they have learned. That is evaluation. Example naman dito po is be specific and provide example. Yes po. Teamwork and collaboration. For the revised taxonomy, after 45 years since the publication of Bloom's taxonomy, Lorraine Anderson and David Cratwool lead a new group of experts to work together. The salient differences between the old and the revised taxonomy. Okay pa. For number 1, ito na po yung sa revised taxonomy po. The levels of categories of thinking in the old taxonomy were noun, while in the revised taxonomy, they are verbs. Alam naman po natin verbs is action word. The use of action words instead of noun was done to highlight that thinking is an active process. For example, evaluate instead of evaluation, or analyze instead of analysis. For number 2, while the revised taxonomy remains to be in hierarchical levels of increasing complexity, it is intended to be more flexible in that it allows the categories to overlap. For example, some action word understand level, like explain, may appear to be more complex than action word shown in the apply level. However, when we look into the 6 levels from remember to create, we will still find that overall the taxonomy process is a hierarchical order. For number 3, the knowledge level was changed to remember. The change was made because knowledge does not refer to a cognitive or thinking level. Then, remember is a more appropriate word for the first thinking level, which involved recalling and retrieving knowledge. For number 4, the comprehension level was changed to understand. Teachers are likely to use the word understand when referring to their work rather than comprehension. For number 5, synthesis was changed to create and was placed as the highest level. The cognitive domain now includes two dimensions, the cognitive dimension and the knowledge dimension. The knowledge dimension of the revised taxonomy was based on the subcategories of knowledge in the old taxonomy. Uh, okay pa. Example ko lang po sa Bloom's taxonomy sa cognitive domain po is for the old taxonomy, one dimension po siya. The example po doon is the knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. For the revised taxonomy, two dimension po. The cognitive dimension and the knowledge dimension. Yun po. For the cognitive dimension sa revised taxonomy, number one is remember, number two, understanding, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. For the revised taxonomy, knowledge dimension po, factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. The revised taxonomy highlights two dimensions, the cognitive and the knowledge dimensions. The cognitive dimension includes the hierarchical or ordered levels of thinking. The cognitive dimension includes the hierarchical or ordered levels of thinking. The thinking levels move from the simplest to the most complex. The levels are remember, understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate, and create. And okay, the uses of the revised taxonomy. The revised taxonomy provides a framework that helps educators in the following ways. One, it provides educators with a common set of terms and levels about learning outcomes that help in planning across subject matter and grade levels. For number one po is includes dito yung pagpaplano, planning po. For number two, it helps in the drafting of learning standards across levels. Dito naman po is, for me, ito pangkalatan, the general levels and examples for this talagang iba. For number three, it serves as a guide in evaluating the school's curriculum, objectives, activities, and assessment. For number three po, sa Tagalog, guide sa curriculum. Parang sa college prospectus po siya. Parang yung task, naging weekly, ang tawag dito. Yung weekly plan ng teachers. For number four, it helps the teacher in formulating learning outcomes that tap higher order thinking skills. For number four naman po, nagputo sa mga teachers. More on nag-focus po talaga sa cognitive domain. And then, sige pa, i-add ko lang po sa knowledge dimension po. Okay pa. May
Is that
question.
the end of the slide? Okay, go ahead.
Yung sa two dimension na mention ko kanina sa revised taxonomy po, there is the cognitive dimension and the knowledge dimension. For number one po is remember, example po na remember retrieving relevant knowledge from long-term memory. the recognizing and recalling. For number 2 po is understand, determining the meaning of instructional messages, including oral, written and graphic communication. It includes interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, inferring, comparing, and explaining. Number 3, apply, carrying out or using a procedure in a given situation. Includes the executing, the implementing. For number 4 po is analyze, breaking material into its constituents, parts, and detecting how the parts relate to one another and to an overall structure or purpose. Includes the differentiating, organizing, and attributing. For number 5 is evaluate, making judgment based on criteria and standards. Checking, critiquing. For number 6, create, putting elements together to form a novel, coherent whole or make an original product. Includes generating, planning, and producing. For the knowledge dimension, there is a factual, conceptual, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. For factual, the basic elements that students must know, knowledge of terminology, specific details, and elements. For letter B, the conceptual, the interrelationship among the basic elements within a larger structure that enable them to function together. Knowledge of classifications and categorize. Principles and generalizations. Theories, models, and structures. For letter C, procedural knowledge, how to do something. Methods of inquiry and criteria for using skills, algorithms, techniques and methods, knowledge of subject-specific skills and algorithms, subject-specific techniques and methods, criteria for determining when to use appropriate procedures. For letter D, metacognitive knowledge, knowledge of cognition in general as well as awareness and knowledge of one's own cognitive. It includes the strategic knowledge, the knowledge about cognitive tasks, including contextual and conditional knowledge, and the last is the self-knowledge. Yun po. Yun po yung sa the revised taxonomy. Ay, okay na po, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Meg, for that presentation. So we have seen in fact, it's not really a difference, but we could see the correlation between the old and the revised taxonomy. Wherein it's on the presentation we have seen that it becomes two-dimensional rather than just a single dimension of taxonomy. And I noticed also the difference, no? From noun it becomes verb. Tama, the verb usage. At the same time, for educator, no, we could use. I think there are listings of on our creating our objective on our classroom. Perhaps we could adapt the Bloom's taxonomy, the revised one on our objectives. Perhaps general course objectives, and then specific module objective. And for basic education, we have your lesson objectives. No? These are more specifics that we could reflect taxonomy, Bloom's taxonomy, particularly the revised one in these areas. No? Of course, considering also the knowledge dimension. No, kasi parang kinategorize mo, yung cognitive dito, kinategorize mo pa in this knowledge dimension. No? So, ayan, I actually it started yung revised Bloom hindi pa tinuro sa amin when I already have on a doctoral level on educational management. So we're still discussing the old, but we know that there's already a new revised, no? So kailan ba na-revise to, Meg? 20 ano lang, no? Parang 2000 when was the revision of the revised taxonomy? After
After
45
years.
years, no? So, napakada. Ibig sabihin, may mga observations na, may mga based on, these are experts in education, educational psychology, and other related fields, no? Fields. Okay, noted, Gillian and Aisel. You're excused. You may go to your next class.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay. So, thank you also for your presentation a while ago. Also, Aisel, yes, you may go. I already sige. Okay,
Sige
so
po.
to have some clarification, observations. So I think this is a development as far as our objectives. No, you may refer to this. No, our module is rich with some sample action words, where we could make this as our a course objective. Then we have the module objective, and then the lesson objective. If you are into basic education, lesson objective is essential on a daily on the daily activity of the pupil. But of course, for tertiary level, course objective is enough because you are already on a tertiary level. But for basic education, lesson objective, lesson objective, and then cluster of lessons will form a module. So you have module objective, and then this will contribute to the course objective as well. So, ayan, on page 178 of your module, there are listing here of the revised taxonomy, no? And of course the suggested outcomes. At least this will guide you guys, since you will be secondary educators, secondary level, so still applied to even to high school teachers, no? So these objectives. But on the tertiary level, we're more on the course. We're looking into on the curriculum, no, relating the course offerings. No? So that's why we, in the first day of, or the few weeks, first week, we are presenting the course objectives. That's the initialization. And this also should be based on this taxonomy. No? And in fact, nakita natin yung, I like it, no? It's really good to distinguish from factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. So these are knowledge dimensions. No? And of course, they are in parallel. Now they are parallel. No? Factual, yes, you may know factually. You may remember facts, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Same as true with concepts. Same as true with procedures. And ultimately, in terms of hierarchy, is the metacognitive. No? Of course, you could go to its remembrance, remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create in the metacognitive. And there are the module tells us some examples here. Okay. So other clarification from the crowd. Thank you, Meg, for the presentation. Other clarification before we give the certificate of appreciation.
Wala naman po.
Guys, sa basic ed, no, though ina-apply din natin sa tertiary level yan, but more on a broader sense. Normally, it is reflected on the course outline. Now, in fact, our course outline is the outline of the book itself. No? So I have not, hindi ko na siya renevise, no? Kasi as I adapt the material, really it defines the course already. So hindi ko na siya renevise, no? So on that sense, we are also adapting Bloom's taxonomy as far as our curricular offering is concerned. But as far as, so it should go down into the lesson objectives and the module objectives as well. Okay, so that's my take there. Other thoughts? Ministerially, ano rin natin, dapat yung understanding, yung cognitive domain o yung cognitive ano ba yung term na ginamit dito? Dimension rather, the cognitive dimension. We should challenge our pupils in the Sunday school to create yung creation, kasi yan yung na-realize ng mga nag-revise ng Blooms na yan yung pinakamataas in the cognitive dimension. And of course, create metacognitive knowledge. That yun yung the peak of this cognition. No? Yan, create metacognitive knowledge. Ang example, make a project about adobo as a Filipino dish based on one's talent. So, you're creating and then you have a metacognitive idea or knowledge. You have creation. So, now as to we facilitate learner-centered teaching, that's the challenge for the student to create their own presentation, to create their, in terms of the organization of their presentation, to conceptualize, no, meaning the linking informations, no, kasi you need to connect this, no, you need to connect ideas so that it will be presented in the manner that is systematic and orderly, so that also is procedural. And then metacognitive, you create your perhaps your own presentation based on your context. So yun yung, so perhaps in the ministry you challenge your people to create. So that's the highest cognitive dimension. Ibig sabihin, from the learning that they have received from the pulpit or perhaps Sunday school classes, they be able to discipline themselves in these concepts or in the teachings that we are sharing our students or even in the congregation. Now they have already their way to categorize theological concepts, doctrines, how to apply this. Now they are systematizing on their mind, on their cognitive domain, and it's part of the creation. Now on the part of the congregation. So we could help people to achieve this higher order. Not just to remember or in terms of memorization or rote memorization, no? Not just to understand, but of course to apply. Now, once you apply things, meaning you have a full understanding, that's why you need to apply. There's circumstance that you need to apply, what you have understand and remember, and but you need to analyze on a different context, situation, and that will bring you to evaluation. Okay, and then from there, then you could have your own system, your creation of your own system. Now, because in a way, we have part on this, the theological doctrinal framework of your congregation. We could help them systematize it, understanding of the doctrines and application as well. So I think that's a church as a role on this on as far as teaching and preaching ministry is concerned, as far as the metacognitive dimension and cognition. Don't stay on just facts. Don't stay on the remembrance only. I think as educators we could motivate them to understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate, and eventually they be able to create on their own systems. Okay, so that's how I see it in the church. Not only on the teaching but on the ministerial side. There are, though this is already on the psychomotor domain, no? So Bloom's taxonomy more or less on the cognitive, but he differentiated the cognitive dimension to knowledge dimension. Okay, other thoughts, guys? Thank you again, Meg, for this presentation. Lalo na pag sa mga I think some of you may already have some lesson planning. So you could use as a guide Bloom's taxonomy. Of course, the cognitive domain, of course, applying, there's also an objective for affective domain and the psychomotor. Alright? Yan nga ang challenge sa aming mga math teachers. Paano kami magsa-psychomotor sa mathematics? Di ba? How could we have a psychomotor objective on mathematics? Ayan. So, nawala na yung math major ko dito. Tatanungin ko sa ano. Ayan, yung dilemma. But anyway, so other thoughts before we award the certificate of appreciation to Meg? Okay, mayroon pang ano. And then afterwards, Pastor Pen again will be delivering his last piece. Okay, thank you again, Meg. As I read the citation, yun lang, wala pa yung citation. Hindi pa papapap eh. Yeah. Alright, so here's the citation. By the way, guys, you will receive all of the certificate at the end of the semester. I will just ipunin ko muna, no? So you will receive two types. First type is you're as a speaker and then as an audience or as a participant. So you will receive certificate of appreciation as a speaker and certificate of participation, no? For as an audience or a participant on the. So you will receive at least if you'll be speaking two, and then you have one for prelim, one for midterm, and one for finals as your certificate of participation. Okay, so at least everyone will receive 5 certificates. Though I already sent the first one, I might resend it again on the end of the semester. Okay. So Meg, please receive this certificate of appreciation given to Migar Madali in grateful acknowledgement of her invaluable effort in imparting knowledge and insights as a resource speaker for EDU115 seminar series on learning on the revised Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives given this 26th day of March 2022 via Restream, Google Meet, and YouTube live stream. Okay, congratulations, Meg. Ayan. Oh, wala yung tatanggap, nawala. Meg, are you there? But anyway, sige. Ay, Meg is here. Okay, congratulations, Meg. Tinitingnan ko yung dilaw eh. Kanina dilaw yung icon mo eh. Nag-shift ka pala ng account, no? Kaya pala. Okay, congratulations. We'll see you again on module. What's your next assignment, Meg? Module 22, no? Am I right?
Wait.
Okay, sige. Now, let's continue with Pastor Pen with module 18.
Sige po, sir. I-share ko lang po yung slide po.
Okay. Sure.
Sige po, nakikita po ba yung slide?
Yes, we could see the slide.
Okay.
Yes.
So, module 18. So, I'll be presenting module 18, problem solving and creativity by Edward Paul Torrance. So, sino si Edward Paul Torrance? Known around the world as the father of creativity for his nearly 60 years of research that became the framework for the field of gifted education. So, makikita po natin po dyan, no, problem solving and creativity. No, as we look at this title, meron na po tayong idea that in every problem, no, meron pong solution, no, at as we solve the problem, be creative, no? Meron pong maging malikhain po tayo sa pag solve po ng problem. So yun po yung kay Edward Paul Torrance. So in this module, explain the 4 criteria of creativity by Torrance and practice creativity, thinking, apply problem solving skills. So sabi po ni Edward Paul Torrance, problem solving and creativity go hand in hand. So you need to be creative in order to solve a problem. So kinakailangan po nating malikhain or in order for us to solve the problem. So makita po natin, sabi po niya, it is unfortunate that these are not adequately taught in the classroom, no? Na sabi po ni Edward Paul, nakakalungkot because this problem solving ay hindi po itinuturo po sa classroom or hindi gaano po itinuturo. So as we see the organizer, makikita po natin po dyan, ito po yung sakop po ng problem solving. No? So titingnan po natin yung Torrance's creativity framework. Under that, fluency, we will learn about fluency, flexibility, about elaboration, and originality. Doon po sa kabila, no? We will also learn creative problem solving in the 6 stages of creative problem solving. So Torrance framework for creative thinking, a common framework for creative thinking processes, is described by Torrance in 1979. So, its aspect is defined below along with ways to facilitate the respective aspect by using keywords and application activities. Okay? So ito po yung under the framework. So number 1 is fluency. So what is fluency? So fluency refers to the production of great number of ideas or alternate solutions to a problem. So makita po natin, no? Sabi po doon, great number of ideas. So there's a lot of ideas and alternate solution to a problem. So fluency implies understanding. So makikita po natin, no? Fluency implies understanding. So we need to understand what is the problem all about. So we will come out a great number of ideas or alternate solutions to a problem. So not just remembering information that is learned. So not just only remembering, but we understand the information that we learn. So yung keywords po ng fluency is compare, convert, count, define, describe, explain, identify, label, list, match, name, outline, or paraphrase, predict, and summarize. So this is the keywords of fluency. So application activities. So this is application activities. So trace a picture and label the parts. So outline an article you find on your topic. So how many uses can you think of a clothes hanger? List 15 things that are commonly read or contain red. So example, apple, blood, brick. No? So ito po yung example po natin. So next. So 9:40. So next po, no, fluency, the next flexibility. So what is all about this? Flexibility refers to the production of ideas that show a variety of possibilities or realms of thought. It involves the ability to see things from different points of view. So naalala ko po during our Bible college, no, there's a 3 side of view, no? Yung coin po, no, for example, yung coin, so there's a 3 kinds of view. Meron sa left, meron sa right, and there is also a center view. So for example po niyan, no, yung nalalaman mo ng lalaman ng iba, well, of course, the center view is none other than the Word of God. So to use many different approaches or strategies, so that is flexibility. So yung keywords po sa flexibility is change, demonstrate, distinguish, employ, interpolate, interpolate, interpret, and predict. So application ideas. What would happen if there were no automobiles? So how would a dog look to a flea? How is blank like blank? So how would you feel if you were invincible for a day? How would you group the ideas about red into categories? This is the application ideas of flexibility. So, dyan po yung example, fruit, safety, features, vehicles. So, yung susunod po, elaboration. So, elaboration is the process of enhancing ideas by providing more detail. Yung elaboration, we are using this even as we teach, as we preach, we elaborate the text. We are using yung mas detalyado, pinapalawak po natin yung teksto o yung text. So additional detail and clarity improves interest in understanding of the topic. So makikita po natin, nakakatulong po yung elaboration, So additional detail and clarify improves interest in understanding of the topic. So mas naliliwanagan po yung nakikinig if we elaborate the lesson or the topic. So makikita po natin yung keywords po ng elaboration, appraise, critique, determine, evaluate, grade, judge, measure, select, tapos test. So application ideas, tell your neighbor about your last family trip using as many details as possible. What can you do? Add to blank to improve its quality or performance. So describe all the possible characteristics of the red quality in a wagon. So ito po yung application ideas ng elaboration. So next po, originality. Originality involves the production of ideas that are unique or unusual. So ibig sabihin original, wala pong kaparehas. So it involves synthesis or putting information about a topic back together in a new way. So, hindi po copyright, talagang bago po. So, keywords, compose, create, design, generate, integrate, modify, and rearrange, reconstruct, reorganize, and revise. So, this is the keywords of originality. So application ideas, find an original use for blank. What would be the strangest way to get out of bed? Design a new blank that is better than the one you have. So write an unusual title for the ideas about red. So example, revolutionary red representation. So ito po yung Torrance creativity framework. So yung fluency, flexibility, elaboration, and originality. So how about the creative problem solving? So CPS model. So CPS is an intentional process for solving problems and discovering opportunities. It espouses the use of creativity in coming up with solutions which are not only novel but practical as well. So makita po natin po yan, The strategy originally was formulated by Alex Osborne in 1963, creator of classical brainstorming, founder of the Creative Education Foundation or CEF, and co-founder of highly successful New York advertising agency. So creative problem solving or CPS model. So its most extended and formalized form, it has the 6 stages. It's with a divergent and a convergent phase. So what is all about divergent and convergent phase? Akala ko po yung divergent po na movie, no? Sa totoo lang po, hindi ko po lubusang naunawaan po yan. So, nag-search po ako, what is the meaning of divergent in a convergent phase? So, yung divergent po, yung ibig sabihin po ng divergent, thinking, at yung convergent thinking produces yung ito po, yung divergent thinking produces multiple creative solutions. Yun po yung divergent, no? Yung there's multiple creative solution. So, creative ideas to explore many possible solution. So, marami po yung ibig sabihin pala ng divergent, no? There's no multiple creative solutions, but the convergent phase, ito po yung a single effective solution, no? So divergent, maraming solution, pero yung convergent, isa lang po yung solution in the problem. So yun po yung divergent and convergent. So however, more recent publications seem more interested in focusing on procedure and techniques issues with less weight on the full elaboration of this structure. So the following based on Van Gandhi 1988 description in a very brief skeleton of a very rich process showing in its full 6x2 stages form. So ito po yung 6 stages of CPS. So stage 1, misfinding. Sensitive yourself for issues that need to be tackled. So ibig sabihin, no, we must be sensitive or scan or search for issues, concerns, challenges, opportunities that need to be tackled. So maging sensitibo po tayo sa problema. Yun po yung stage 1, no? Na wag po nating walang bahala po yung problem. But we need to be sensitive. So divergent techniques include wouldn't it be nice if, and wouldn't it be awful if, no? So brainstorming to identify desirable outcomes and obstacles to be overcome. So makita po natin po yan. So yung brainstorming po, no, magkaiba po yung brainstorming sa mind mapping. Kasi related po ito, no, mamaya din po sa ating pong discussion. So yung I just want to discuss to you, no, yung pagkakaiba. And I know that most of the teachers knows about brainstorming and mind mapping. So brainstorming, no, in mind mapping, so makita po natin brainstorming helps to generate new ideas. Yun po yung brainstorming, no? Helps to generate new ideas. Nakakatulong na makabuo ng bagong idea. While mind mapping helps to create relationships between ideas. So yun po yung mind mapping, no? Helps to create relationships between ideas. So sa convergent techniques include the identification of hotspots, highlighting expresses as a list of IWWMS in what ways might, and selection in terms of ownership criteria. So problem owners, motivation, and ability to influence it in outlook criteria, urgency, familiarity, and stability. So muli ulitin ko po yung convergent po, no? Yung convergent techniques, single effective solution. Yung divergent thinking produces multiple creative solution. So stage 2. So data finding. So ibig sabihin gather information about the problem. So yun po yung stage 2. We need to gather information about the problem. So divergent techniques include 5 W's and H. No? Kinakailangan po natin gamitan ng who, why, what, when, where, and how for us to gather the information about the problem. And listing of one sources and data, list all your information once as a series of questions for its less possible sources of answers, then follow this up, and for its sources, less what you found. And convergent techniques again include identifying hotspots or highlighting mind mapping. So yun po, nabanggit po yung mind mapping. So mind mapping again, no, yung nakita po natin po kanina. No, creating really helps to create relationship between ideas. To sort and classify the information gathered, and also restating the problem in the light of your richer understanding of it. Stage 3, problem finding. Convert a fuzzy statement of the problem into a broad statement more suitable for idea finding. So stage 3, no, problem finding. Ibig sabihin, no, convert a fuzzy, yung hindi po maliwanag na pahayag, no, hindi po maliwanag na problema sa mas malawak, no, na statement, more suitable for idea finding, no? So kung hindi klaro, no, i-convert po natin po yan sa broad statement that more suitable for idea finding. So divergent techniques include asking why, the repeatable questions in 5 W's in H. So yun din po yung ginagamit po in divergent techniques. No, we need to use 5 W's in each. And convergent techniques include highlighting again reformulation of problem statements to meet the criteria that they contain only one problem and no criteria in selection of the most promising statement, but yung in-B, no, mark that the mental stretching that the activity gives to the participants can be as important as the actual statement chosen. So stage 4, idea finding. Generate as many ideas as possible, no? Generate o buo ng maraming ideas as possible, no, and solving the problem. So divergent using any of a very wide range of idea regenerating techniques. The general rules of classic brainstorming, such as deferring judgment, are likely to underpin all of this. Convergent techniques include highlighting again reformulation of problem statements to meet the criteria that they contain only one problem and no criteria in selection of the most promising statement, but that the mental stretching that the activity gives to the participants can be as important as the actual statement chosen. So stage 5, solution finding. So ito po, no, generate and select obvious evaluation criteria using an expansion construction cycle and develop which may include combining the shortlisted ideas from idea finding, so from stage 4 as much as you can in the light of this criteria, no, the option for the best of these improved ideas using comparison table. So you can use comparison table to generate and select obvious evaluation criteria. In stage 6, acceptance finding. How can the suggestion you have just selected be made up to standard and put into practice? Show negativity. So iwasan po natin yung negativity and continue to apply the fair judgment problems are exposed to be solved, not to dishearten progress. Action plans are better developed in small groups of two in three rather than in a large group, unless you particularly want commitment by the whole group, particularly for people's problems, and it's often worth developing several alternative action plans. Possible techniques include 5Ws and H implementation checklist, consensus mapping, and potential problem analysis. So the CPE's process was started by Alex Osborne in the 1940s, developed with seed Barnes in the 1950s, and nurtured of Sunny Buffalo State in the Creative Education Foundation. The diversity of approaches to the creative problem-solving process that have developed since is a testimony to the power of the idea. While many models exist, the Creative Education Foundation focuses on an evolution of the Osborne-Barnes creative problem-solving process called the CPS Learner's Model. Based on the Osborne-Barnes process, the CPS model uses plain language and recent research. The basic structure is comprised 4 stages with a total of 6 implicit process steps. Each step uses divergent and convergent thinking. Wala na ata, pabalik-balik na. So clarify, implement, develop, and idea. So CPS begins with 2 assumptions. Everyone is creative in some way, and creative skills can be learned and enhanced. So sir, ipagpapatuloy ka po ba? O ito lang na po?
Sige, I think few more slide. Sige, tuloy mo na wrap up into 2 to 3 minutes. Okay na siguro.
Sige po. So the core principles are, ito po yung core principles doon po sa ating lesson in Module 18, Problem Solving and Creativity. So divergent and convergent thinking must be balanced. So dapat balance po yung divergent and convergent thinking. So keys to creativity are learning ways to identify and balance expanding and contracting thinking, done separately, and knowing when to practice them. So ask problems, ask questions. Solutions are more readily invited and developed when challenges and problems are restated as open-ended questions with multiple possibilities. So yung open-ended questions po, no, requires a participant to answer in their own words. Yung close-ended question, may choices, no, maaring yung sagot lang po kasi doon, yes or no. Pero yung open-ended question, manggagaling mismo doon sa tao, no, yung kanyang sagot. So such questions generate lots of rich information, while closed-ended questions tend to elicit confirmation or denial. So statements tend to generate limited or no response at all. So makikita po natin, if we use open-ended question, no, meron pong possibilities, maraming possibilities, no, na sagot. But if
Yeah.
we use the close-ended question, maaring hindi siya sasagot, no? Or limited lang po yung kanyang pong sagot. So defer or suspend judgment. So as Osborne learned in his early work or brainstorming, the instantaneous judgment, yung kaagad-agad na paghatol, no, in response to an idea shuts down idea generation. So dapat daw po, no, defer o hindi kaagad-agad naghahatol. No? There is an appropriate and necessary time to apply judgment when converging. So makikita po natin po dyan yung disadvantage if we defer or suspend judgment, no? In response to an idea shuts down idea generation. So focus on yes and rather than no, but so ano po yung ibig sabihin ng focus on yes and when generating information in ideas language matter, yes and allows continuation in expansion which is necessary in certain stages of CTS. So ibig sabihin po yung yes and end, ibig sabihin po may continuation. But the use of the word but precedes by yes or no closes down conversation, no? So wala pong continuation, ibig sabihin tigil na po, no? So negating everything has come before. Kaya sa akin naman po, no, yung information, no, na nakalap, no, because you natapos na po, no. So focus on yes and no, rather than no but. So Bransford ideal model. Bransford ideal model. So identify the problem, define the problem through thinking about it and sorting out the relevant information. So explore solutions through looking at alternatives, brainstorming, and checking out different point of view. To act on the strategies and look back and evaluate the effects of your activity. So the steps guide the creative process. They tell you what to do at each immediate step in order to eventually produce one or more creative, workable solutions. A unique feature is that each step first involves a divergent thinking phase and which one generates lots of ideas, facts, problems, definitions, ideas, evaluation criteria, implementation strategies. So then a convergent phase in which only the most promising ideas are selected for further exploration. So problem solving and creativity. So once again, so doon na po nagtatapos yung aking report. So any question po?
Okay, thank you, Pastor Pen. In mathematical problem solving, it's more simplified. No? First and foremost is to identify the problem, the unknown, and then the given. What are the given of the problem? The first is the unknown. And what are the knowns? What is the relation of the known to the unknown? And what are the methods to solve for the unknown? So that's it. And then you have the solution. That's for mathematical solution. We have the 4-step problem solving in mathematics. Is to identify the problem, what's the problem, what's the given, what's the relation of the given to the unknown, what are the methodologies where we could solve the unknown, and then you have the solution. And then of course the solution could be checked using the problem itself or the problem using checking. No? So that's a simplified form in mathematics where we do that. But of course it needs certain creativity. That's why problem solving is somewhat related to creativity. Well, so there are divergent and convergent ways where we could find solutions. Divergent, various, lumapasok yung creativity, no? Convergent, of course, we need a specific a decision for a specific solution of a particular problem, knowing that there are various solutions or various ways where we could solve. Okay, thank you, Pastor Pen. And that would end our midterm period. Next week we'll continue, but this time it's already for final period. Ma'am Nila will discuss Module 19. May would discuss a special topic. And Jerem would also discuss 2 special topics. Please tell Jerem to give me the titles. No? I don't want duplication from the previous special topics that was presented already. Okay? So that was special topics. You don't need to discuss everything. You just look for the salient points, because I know the content is a lot wider compared to our modules, no, for the special topics. Okay, I would like to present this. Then we will be out already. Sorry for the next class, no. But I think we need to finish this so that you could have. Anyway, you have two-week break, no. So I think okay na tong konting sacrifice natin, guys. Sharing this. Yan. Nagtataka ako, biglang na-disable nung 2 weeks before, no? Okay, sharing this certificate of appreciation given to Pastor Penero Bacod in grateful acknowledgement of his invaluable effort in imparting knowledge and insight as a resource speaker for EDU115 seminar series on learning with a special topic on problem solving and creativity given this 26th day of March 2022 via stream, Google Meet, and YouTube live stream. Congratulations, Pastor Pen.
Thank you po, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, thanks so much. And that would end our session. See you next week with our last presentation, or for this semester. Then afterwards, we will have 2 Saturday holidays. Okay? And then just expect my upload of midterms and take-home activity. So it has due date that I will just indicate on the form. Okay? Thank you so much. Guys, God bless everyone. See you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye po.
God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay, bye-bye. God bless.
Sir, yung kan po ninyo, sir, makakatulong po sa amin po yun, yung exposition.
Sige, papadala
Opo.
ko.
Thank you, sir. Opo.
Thank you.